ladies, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves while we're getting going?
Didn't go. Well, hello.
Hello.
I was sharing too. I'm back.
Oh,
Hey,
you back? You
I'm
back?
back.
All
I am
right.
Reverend Amarylis West. I live in Georgia and I hang out with these ladies from time to time out here in this social space. And I'm excited to talk to you guys tonight.
Mm.
Whoop,
Hello,
whoop.
everyone. My name is Ebony Young, also from the Columbus, Georgia, Phoenix City, Alabama area. I am a licensed LPC in the state of Georgia, and I'm here with, the ladies, and we do lady things. So it's good to be here with you all tonight.
I love it. I love it. Yes, we do lady things. But particularly tonight, we are specifically addressing our Designing the Relationships You Deserve series. So, welcome to Tea Time with Dr. Tarver. It is time for the tea, and I am Dr. Tarver. I'm so very excited. The ladies have introduced themselves. And you all know how we do. We jump on in this thing. So
Yeah.
tonight we are talking about setting the goalpost in
Mm.
dating and debunking marriage myths. And so we started a little late, so we're gonna jump in. Now, ladies, I tell people all the time my most frequently requested topic is relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
in this
Oh,
season of February, which is a time of celebration of loving relationships,
Yes.
then it is
mhm.
very, very common for people to be looking for dating and marriage advice. And so, where are they going to go? They're going to the interwebs, where there is a
Right.
breadth of misinformation
Oh my.
out there. So, Ebony, I'll let you start to talk about some of maybe the dating myths that are out there, the things that you're seeing on social media about why you ain't married, sis, and it's too late for you
Ooh.
to be out here
Ooh,
being choosy and you need to
ooh,
all the stuff. and
all
and
the things.
uh Reverend West, if you'll hit them with the myths about where the Bible says, and that's why y'all ain't getting married, y'all young, y'all don't cook no
Listen.
more, y'all don't know how to keep a man, yeah. Also, so go ahead. The
Yeah,
rolling of the eyes and the sipping of the water.
yeah.
So Ebony, go ahead and get started with some of the
Sure,
myths.
sure. So some of the dating myths that I hear, so I work in a clinical setting. I'm a therapist, psychotherapist, and I work with individuals and couples. And so some of the dating myths that I hear, number one, is that there is the one.
Mm.
There's the one. So I would
Mm,
say if that were, mythologically sound, then divorce would not be a thing because you'd be with the one the first time, right? So I
Right.
think it's important to consider that there is more than one person that you can have meaningful, loving relationships with, and that any relationship that you engage in is going to take work. Myth number two, I will say, it may be that relationships are easy. The right relationship is easy. No, the right relationship consists of two people who are doing the work to make the relationship help it to be successful. Another dating myth might be that if you are single, then there is something wrong with you.
Mm.
I don't believe that. I believe that people choose a life of solitude or singleness for a myriad of reasons. That's men and women. I think the
Yes.
old archetype is the old maid for a woman, and then the distinguished gentleman for a man who's of a particular age and unmarried. And so we have to kind of challenge those stereotypes in a way that is realistic, that there are plenty of healthy, whole, happy people who are single.
That's right.
Another one, and I don't want to get into Amaryllis's
Come
lane,
around.
but that
Come
a
on.
relationship will complete you. False myth. Um, the relationships consist of two whole people who have done some self work to manage their own trauma and triggers and are now willing to share their whole selves with another whole human. Um, I think that's all I can come up with right now. I could probably think of a few more, but I'll
Yeah.
stop there so you can get into your marriage part because I don't want to get into that.
Come on over in here, because
Yeah, yeah,
all that was good. Come around, come around. All
yeah,
that
yeah.
is good. I will say, Ebony, you hit on all the things, and people, some of those things carry over into marriage, right?
Mhm,
The one, lack of conflict, right? One of the first
mhm,
things is that um, once you get married, everything is perfect, or saying
mm,
I do makes a relationship perfect. right? So
Right.
as soon as we get married, or once we're married, or once I'm married, it's like it's supposed to flip a switch. Not the case, right? Also, you said there's people think there is the one, which is a myth they bring into marriage, and they've married the one, and so sometimes they hang on a little longer than they should, right? Or they try to make the person into what they believe the one is supposed to be, so it can cause all kinds of chaos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Other myths is that once I'm married, I don't have conflict,
Right.
right? But healthy conflict is healthy. Conflict is
Mm-hmm.
healthy if you work it out well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, if I'm married, I should stay married forever.
Mm.
Once I've said I do until death do our part, either you're gonna kill me, I'm gonna kill you. That's not the case.
Right.
Right? Right? Well, I'll weigh you a budget, right? So what we have to do is be open to say that we have entered into this marriage and into this union, right? And made these vows. But like Ebony said, we are individuals, right? And sometimes we have to, God can only do as much as we follow him and obey him to do, right? We have our own free will. And so marriage does not make that person into the perfect person, doesn't erase everything. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, that those are myths.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
First of all, let me thank you all for touching on what I feel like are the top myths. There are a lot of people out there that do want to be in a committed monogamous relationship, and they feel as if marriage is going to make a person be whoever
Mm,
they've idealized
Yes.
yes,
as this
yes.
person. So one of the myths I'll highlight is that there is not this idealized sweep you off your feet,
Mm-hmm.
buff, romantic, has amazing conversational skills,
Yes.
um, hair like Samson, you know,
Body
what
like Boaz, you
body
know.
like Boaz,
Wow. Wow.
uh,
Who knew Boaz had
right,
body?
right,
Never
all
knew
that,
it.
right,
Never
like,
knew it.
and like also gonna wear them Tims and
Mhm.
is gonna mow the lawn and keep the lawn manicured and can
Yeah.
build you a house. And so
All
I
the
think,
Mm.
things.
a lot of times
Yes.
we're putting all of these fantasy characteristics
Mm-hmm.
onto people
Yes.
when we're coming into relationships, and we are upset with them when they don't meet those expectations. So myth number two is that
Yes.
people can read your mind. And
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
lot of people will say, well, why didn't you? You should have. You should know
Mm-hmm.
by now the
Wow.
kinds of things that
Wow.
interfere with us actually having open, direct
Yes.
communication,
Yes.
transparency, and honesty,
Yes.
because we're living off assumptions and in
Mm-hmm.
spaces that people will be able to know what we want without us having to tell them.
Look, can I testify
Yeah.
real quick?
Please come on and testify for the
Okay.
people.
So, when I got married, I was guilty of just that in the very,
Mm,
very early stages. And I was at home and walking around talking to myself, fuming, mad with blah, blah, blah. You know how you do. Get yourself worked up into a frenzy. And God was like, but does he know that you expect that?
Right.
my God, today.
What you mean? He's supposed to. Okay. So me and God go back and forth. And I had resentment
Mm.
because he didn't do something I expected, but I had not communicated that.
Yeah.
So when he came home that day, I had to apologize. First of all,
Mhm.
he had no idea why I was apologizing because he had no idea it was an expectation,
Yeah.
right? But I had to share. I've been walking around carrying a resentment because you didn't do something that I expected you to do. And I thought because you, the perfect mate, or I loved you, or you could read my mind or had intuition, you should have known what that thing was. And I learned very early on that I needed to communicate. Right.
Yeah.
The other thing that was very helpful to learn very early on is there was a place of growth.
Mhm.
So there are some things I learned in that I could not see in myself until I was in that relationship because I had
Mhm.
never been that close and intimate with someone. And so some of the
Wow.
things I had not bumped up into in my own person. Right.
Mm,
Right.
And
that's
then
Right.
good.
so in that space, bumping into it was like, oh gosh, that was, I didn't know that was in
Yeah.
my character. I didn't know it was in my personality, or I didn't know
Right.
that was a place of trauma or place of that needed healing, right? I had not experienced this level of intimacy and commitment in a relationship. And so then
Mhm.
there was still place where I had to grow, and being able to communicate that and then be in a safe place to say, yikes, when you say this happened, or when this I experienced this is how I felt, and being able to work through that, and vice versa, right? He bumped into
Yeah.
things in his personality, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't know that was there," or because I had been single and by myself, right?
Mhm.
I had bumped into it this way, so we were able to say, "Okay, I can see you, and you can see me," and we were um, created a safe space to work through some of the things that were in ourselves. I wasn't maybe 100% whole, right? Because
Mhm.
there were some things I didn't know to work on until I
That's right.
bumped into the things in that relationship.
I
Thank
think so.
you
If
for
I could
that. Go
tag on
ahead. Go
to
ahead on. Ebony.
Amarylis,
Mhm.
I want to say the thing that I've heard from people who are in healthy marriages or sometimes unhealthy marriages,
Yeah,
are is that marriage is the great magnifier. And so
absolutely.
when you get with someone, you see more of them than you have seen at any other time when you're married, when you're in close proximity, when I got to wake up to you every day, when I got to share my space with
Yeah.
you,
Mhm.
it becomes the great magnifier. And like alignment with what Deanie was saying is that I think we get disappointed, and disappointment
Mhm.
breeds discontentment, right? And so when we are having these great ideas of what marriage is like and what my husband should do and what a
Yes.
wife should do,
Yes.
we are disappointed when the person fails to meet those mostly unrealistic,
Most
um
times.
stabilized,
Yes.
expectations. And I
Yes.
think we have to really be willing um to go in with grace and then to respond with it too. And a lot of times we don't. We're critical of others, and so when they're critical of us, we're offended and hurt and injured. But we're also critical of them because why are you not the thing I expected you to be? And I think that's one of the things about marriage that people have to let go of, is that no one is perfect, and you neither. And
Mhm.
when you go into spaces expecting that, you are bound to be disappointed.
Absolutely. And it's and in our culture, it's the relationship goals.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna pray the Sierra prayer. What's the prayer Sierra prayed, right? And
Girl.
so
Oh, for Russell.
yeah.
For Russell.
So we have this thing that's before us every few minutes on TikTok, and then we make that goals, but you don't know the work they put into, you don't know the editing
Right.
they done,
Mhm.
right? To get us to see
Curated. It's
it's
curated.
curated,
Curated.
right? And so
Yeah.
we have to
Mhm.
be careful of that and understand
Mhm.
what love really is, and what, and I always say, and then you kind of touched on this a little bit, is the relationship that I have is my relationship. It should look like mine,
Wow.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so what does that mean for us? And
Mhm.
Mhm.
so there, and releasing tradition in a way that keeps us bound and keeps me from being able to love you the way that we feel comfortable loving each other, because tradition will put on you, it's got to be like this, it's got to look
Mhm.
like that, like you were
Mhm.
saying. You have the girl, get in there, fix that man plate, or do you have all these things that look like love to
Mhm.
people,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But our relationship may not look like that,
Mhm.
right? And so we
Absolutely.
have to do what feels okay to us, to just to be able to have peace, and that's okay. And not having the
Mhm.
world's expectations dictate how we love each other. And that's in marriage relationships, dating relationships, friend relationships, all, our relationships. We should be comfortable in being who we are and letting people love us the way at the capacity they they can, but just being real about it.
That's good
Yeah.
stuff. That's good stuff, ladies.
Yeah.
I think that you all have segued into this component of, okay, so what does it look like then? Right?
Mhm.
So we've got these myths, all of the things that we're hearing out here on social media. Everybody's got a podcast. Everybody's got a relationship book that they have crafted and put out here, these tips about who particularly Black women should be when they are
Mhm.
trying to find partnership.
Mhm.
And so, what does the guidebook actually look like if it's a healthy guidebook? What are those goalposts? How do I
Mhm.
determine what that relationship is going to look like for me?
Mhm.
How do I determine what a healthy
Mhm.
marriage could look like then if maybe I don't have the foundation in place? How would I get that
Yeah.
foundation?
So I'm gonna
Mhm.
start, and then Ebony, I want you to come behind me. So I'm gonna give you scripture.
Come on,
Come on,
scripture.
scripture.
Okay. So when we got married, we received a gift, and it was 1 Corinthians 13 in a picture frame. And you get gifts, and it was sitting at on there was two chairs and a table in between. It was sitting there. And one day I was sitting there and I read it. And I had done all my work. And I had gone to my therapist. I did all the. I was ready to be married. I knew what I was doing. I knew what lower. I was ready, right? No. So I'm sitting there. I'm reading it, and it says, wait, did it start first? Okay, maybe it's not first. Oh, let me go to first. Let me go to. Let me go start back. So it didn't give me the whole thing.
We
Hold on.
like good
So this is
context with our scriptures.
yes, yes. So this is First Corinthians 13,
Mhm.
right? So here we go. I'm loading. I'm loading. One second.
Go ahead and load. Go ahead and load. Because we do like a Corinthians.
Yes.
Hmm.
So, and
Hmm.
I'm gonna read it to you in the King James
Come on in the KJ.
because it says what I wanted to say.
Okay. That's how
Okay.
you remember them Bible verses with that
Listen,
King
if I
James
had remembered
version.
it,
Right.
I'd tell you
Hmm.
to you.
Hmm.
Okay. So, and it says it in charity, but it says, um, hold on a second. Look, I get on the computer and it needs some
Yeah,
technology.
because now it's like, look, now you trying to run too many screens at one time,
That
Ebony.
look, internet is like, stop that.
Right,
Okay.
absolutely. Choose one or the other.
Okay. It
Right.
says, so I'm gonna skip down. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Love never felt okay. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy.
Hmm.
It does not parade itself. It is not puffed up. It does not behave rudely. It does not seek its own. It is not provoked. It thinks no evil. It does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Love never fails, right? And it starts off with love is patient and love is kind. And it was all those things. And when it got into and the more I read, I was like, and if you read it in New Cage, it says, does not keep records of wrong.
Mm. Not
So when
holding
you
grudges.
so when you say, and that time when you, oh, that's keeping records of wrong.
Mm.
It's not patient. It's not puffed up. It's not
Mm.
proud.
Mm.
And I had to check myself
Mm.
word by word and go, it's not self-seeking.
Mm.
Oh, so when I'm telling you what I want, and this is what I, oh. So as I read through it, what I thought love was, and the way I thought I was loving my spouse, it dismantled it
Mm.
and gave me a
Wow.
true picture of, oh, I need to be patient. Okay. I need to be kind with my words.
Mm.
Yikes. So it walked me through how to refashion the way that I was loving my spouse. Not the way the world did, not the way the internet did, not the way
Mm.
your girlfriend say, not the right. Okay,
Mm.
right. And
That's
so I
good.
had to learn that piece by piece. And even now, so this is what year 25. And I have to remind myself,
Yeah.
right? Okay, what does this say? Okay, all right. And that for me has been a gauge to center myself,
Mm.
right? To say, okay, all right. Well, I'm not gonna keep a record of wrong, but can we talk about right?
Mm.
Or I'm not being patient, and I have to
Mm.
breathe.
Yeah.
I have to check myself against scripture, check myself against and my
Yeah.
character, right? So, Ebony, you talked about the mirror, the great magnifier. For me, the great magnifier, yeah, I can see all that, but I need to also magnify. I need to see myself,
Right.
right? So at the end of the day, when I go to bed at night, have I done what I was supposed to do and been who I'm supposed to be? And I
Mhm.
can go to bed in peace. So,
Hmm.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I do think that that's important because it's easier for us to tell other people how they should love us
yes,
than it is for
yes,
us to talk to ourselves about how we love other
yes,
people.
yes.
The being harsh with our words, difficulty forgiving people, holding
Hmm.
on to grudges,
Yes.
um, that quiet resentment you kind of spoke about
Oh
earlier because
gosh,
I
yes.
didn't express to you what my needs were, but
Hmm.
now I'm holding them against you because you're not meeting them.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I am, when I get irritated or the day is long and hard, I'm taking it out on you because you're the safe space
Hmm.
that I come home to, not
Hmm.
realizing how that tears away at
Yes.
you in your spirit.
Hmm.
That I'm quick to point out where you struggle, but I have difficulty pointing out
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
what my challenges are. That's good stuff because to me that's your foundation.
Hmm.
So if you didn't know what loving looks like, that's the beginning of your playbook.
Yes.
is First Corinthians.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. Come on,
Yeah.
Ebony. What you got for us?
I think as I kind of listen to Amarylis talk, there's one, it's a person therapy centered term that comes to mind.
Okay.
And when I work with couples, I always say, can we have a measure of unconditional positive regard?
All right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Unconditional
Yes.
positive regard.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that no matter what your behavior says about you, I believe
Yeah.
that because you are my spouse, you have my ultimate best interest at hand.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there's no matter what we're dealing with, if there's a thing or if it's, you in a bad mood, whatever the case is, I believe and I've chosen to believe that you have my best interest at hand. So I'm not going to treat you inhumane. Right. So I am going to be patient. I am going to be kind. I'm not going to hold everything against you. I'm not going to do all these things because I know that you have my best interest at hand. Now, I think it's really important to consider that people, when they marry, they have models of marriage that they think they need to follow. And I think you talked about that, like what the outside world says about
Yeah.
marriage.
And what we've
And
seen.
so and what we've seen. So we have a Rolodex in our brain about, okay, this is what marriage looks like.
Yeah.
And I think we have to be willing to customize marriage
Mm-hmm.
and say that when marriage happens, just because that works for you, it doesn't work for me, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think another thing that I really like, because I like visual aids, is
Yeah.
something called the Sound Relationship House, SOUND Relationship
Yeah.
House.
Mm.
And what it is, it talks about like the different levels of relationships. The two walls are trust and commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Trust and commitment. Friendship and commitment, according to research, are two of the things that keep marriages together. Not money, not sex, not time invested, commitment
Mm-hmm.
and trust. Okay.
Talk to the people.
So that's left and right side. So the things that hold your marriage together, commitment and trust. Then you start to build from the ground up. Okay. And you start that by saying something like, okay, well, what do I know about this person? So you share each other's worldview. Do I know who your best friend is? Do I know the things you like? Am I aware of, just your allergies? Do I know the most traumatic experience you've had in your life? Then we go to friendship, right? So when people get married, they forget to be friends. It's more people in the world who are more loyal to their homegirls and homeboys than they are to their husband and their wife.
God today.
They miss the opportunity to have a best friend that you can sleep,
Yes.
right? Then the next one is a shared fondness. Well, how do you know that I like you?
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing that lets you know that? Right? Am I still walking past you and brushing past you in the kitchen? Am I still sending a little cute text message? Do I still say, yeah, you wearing that? That smell good. What you got on?
You put that on
These
today.
types of things. And we share that. And then at the top or kind of over is like our shared meaning of our marriage. And that's where the customization comes in. Do we have a marriage that means the same thing to us? What does it mean to you to be married? If all it means is a status symbol,
Yeah.
but I want to be in covenant,
Mm-hmm.
Come on,
we may
covenant.
find a breakdown, right? So we know marriages can be transactional or covenant based.
Yes.
Transaction says, as long as you're doing the things that I like, I'll stay with you. As long as you're giving me this, I'll give you that. So if you cook and you clean and you watch them kids and you turn a little trick for me now and then, swing from to the left, I'ma stay with you. But the minute you don't, I really don't like you, I'm about to go find somebody else. Right? Covenant says, irregardless, as the young people might say.
Yeah.
Irregardless, I've made a pact between me, you, and God, or me,
Yeah.
you, and the belief that we are, in the universe together, whatever your belief center may be.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna hold on to that.
Yeah.
And I think we've lost that. And some of
Yeah.
the elders might say that's why marriages don't last no more. Right. But there's something about covenant that will help you stay. And I ain't talking about endure punishment and maltreatment. Because I want to clarify that for
Yeah.
somebody tonight. And
Come on now.
I want to set you free with that.
Yeah.
I
Set me
don't
free.
mean love you to death and I'm the one dying.
Correct.
I don't mean that. I
Correct.
mean, I have the level of commitment to the process and I'm willing to do the work as long as you're working, right? As
Yeah.
long as we can work together,
Yes.
then
Yes.
I'll do it. And I
Yes.
think we miss that opportunity to be in covenant with someone and we miss the opportunity to really customize our marriages in a way that will really work for us. Some people just need to figure out what works for them. They're perfectly happy people, and they're happy together if they can figure out what works for them versus what they think should work for them.
Y'all dropping wisdom out here.
Listen,
Dropping wisdom. And I want
wonderful.
to also be clear with everybody that um these values, this foundation, it applies to dating relationships too.
Absolutely.
I think a
That's
lot of
right.
times we're
relationship.
waiting to
Yes.
show up
Yes.
to be the best versions of ourselves for my husband, for my
Yeah.
wife. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to,
Mm-hmm.
but whatever you practice becomes your process.
That
So if
say
you
that
are
one more time,
practicing,
doctor.
whatever you practice
Now,
becomes your process.
my goodness, today.
Won't he do it?
That's good.
So if you are practicing the type of habits that
Yes.
aren't going to be conducive to building a foundation when it comes
Right.
time for you to try to build one in a committed relationship, you
Yes.
are still going to be reverting back to the things that you have practiced.
Yes.
That's right.
So I'm telling you, good brothers and good sisters, that if you want to, in fact, have a healthy relationship, then you have to be consistent in executing the skills. And the sisters just dropped some jewels regarding what those skills are. I'm going to add a few to that list. And I
Yeah.
will tell you that you have to understand what intimacy looks like.
Yeah.
Oh man, you using big words, doctor.
Come on now.
You gotta tell us what it means.
Come on now.
You gotta tell us what it means.
When you are talking about an actual, authentic, genuine, transparent connection, whether that's spiritual intimacy, financial intimacy, sexual intimacy, communication intimacy,
Yes.
problem solving intimacy, if you have not built that foundation, as the ladies talk about, if I can't talk to you when we're in difficulty, because we are going to have difficulty, saints. I will tell you for certain.
For sure.
Your relationship is going to have conflict. So for
Yeah.
those of you who are conflict avoidant,
More big words.
Oof.
right?
So much.
So what
Wow.
happens for you is whatever you experience in your past relationships, which meant that when I'm uncomfortable, I don't want to actually have to sit in the discomfort. So what I will do is I will create things to move me from the discomfort, which might be, I might do it with my big voice. So you get off of me.
Yeah.
I might do it with my big hands. So
Yep.
you get off of me. I may leave so I don't have to deal with you. I may just look at you and not respond, so you'll stop talking to me about it. I may go tell someone else, so you'll talk to them, and I don't actually have to talk to you about it. I may not come home because I want to make sure that you're not up when I roll in there, so we don't have to deal with it. And what ends up happening is we have these unresolved things that keep showing up. So we talked about the resentment and the grudges and me keeping tally because we've not resolved and worked through anything, because we don't have an intimate enough connection to have created a safe space to know that even when it's uncomfortable, I still love you. As Ebony said, I got your best interest at heart. You have a safe, trusting foundation. So I'm going to love you even when you don't get it right.
Yes.
And we're going to work through it together, but only if we understand and have applied intimacy and connection.
Right.
And some of you only know cloak and dagger.
Oh, my Lord, today.
My.
Right?
Wow.
So I'm either going to hide it or I'm going to use it as a weapon against you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yes. Come on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Ebony said,
Wow.
yeah.
Did
That's
you
true.
say cloak and dagger?
The cloak and the dagger. So I'm
My
either
Lord,
hiding or I'm stabbing. I can stab you with my words. I can stab you with my deeds. You know how people will have you out and you feel so proud and they say something just to bring you down. Tear that on down a little bit. That's your dagger.
Yeah.
Right. And then I don't really know you because you don't show me genuinely who you are. You're presenting the version of me you think is going to be most acceptable to me.
Right.
So you're cloaking, you're hiding, you're not being authentic and real.
Yeah. Oh my.
My God, today.
Listen.
That's so good.
I don't know what y'all doing out on Facebook, but we are taking a deep breath in the moment.
Listen.
And
Because what?
inhaling.
Because what? Did she say cloak also dagger?
Cloak
And
and
the
dagger.
dagger. Yeah.
Cloak so you can hide your dagger in case you need it. Like,
Listen, all the
That to
what
things.
are
use
you
it later,
doing
And
because I'm
and
gonna
it
hold on to this to get you later.
yes,
to get
and it
you with
speaks to
later?
understanding what the person's defense mechanism is.
My
And
gosh.
you went through a list. How do you avoid the conflict? How do you
Mhm.
maneuver in the conflict? And then when you learn it and can see it, as you are in covenant, you can either
Wow.
respond to it with your own defense mechanism,
Mhm.
or you
Mhm.
can call it and say, hey, when you get upset, you do XYZ, and I see it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So they may not know it's a defense mechanism,
Mhm. Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
right?
Right. Mirror. Right.
Come on.
Mirror.
Come
Right.
on.
So then they're like, oh, I didn't realize it. Every time we talk about X, Y, and Z,
Mhm.
then you do this thing. Oh, I didn't
Mhm.
realize that.
Mhm.
And then
Right.
able to assist the dismantling of that defense mechanism to
Mhm.
find a better way to communicate, right?
Yeah.
Wildly important to be honest
Mhm.
and to,
Mhm.
right? And just
Yeah.
say, hey, player,
Mhm. Mhm.
right?
Right.
This is what I
Mhm.
noticed. This
Mhm.
or with me, right?
Mhm.
When
Right.
you do this, triggers me, and this is what I'm
Mhm.
gonna do,
Mhm.
Right.
right? If
Right.
this happens, this is my natural defense mechanism, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, we read a book a long time ago, and it was um, we got to what's the primary stressor.
Mm.
So we may be having a tussle about whether we want cheese on extra cheese on the pizza or not, or the toppings on the pizza.
Mhm.
Okay,
Right.
this is not really what we're fighting about.
Mhm.
What's the primary stressor? What's really going on?
Yeah.
Let's pause and bring this thing back. Oh, this happened today, or this happened last week, or I'm feeling this way, or this is the anniversary of. Okay, so now let's talk about that thing. Let's order the pizza and talk about that
Yeah.
and stop fighting over this pizza because
Yeah.
that's not really what
Yeah.
we fight about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think people miss that though, right? Because all I keep hearing in the back of my mind as you speak of this is vulnerability. And
Mhm.
so that
Mm.
means Dr. D, I gotta get naked with you.
Oh,
Come
I
on,
got
naked and
to
unashamed.
listen, I gotta be naked and unashamed. I gotta say, you know what? I don't really know what to do when these
yes,
emotions get too big. I
yes.
would usually cuss you out
Or
and
throw
not
some
talk to you
things.
for a week,
Mhm.
Yes,
block you, ghost you.
yes,
Mhm. Mhm.
I will usually do that, but
Mhm.
because I really love you and I
Mhm.
really want this
yes,
relationship to work, I want
yes,
to figure out what to do now,
yes,
right? And it's
That.
hard for me to
Yeah.
not cry.
Mhm.
So
yes,
when you make me too mad and I cry, it's not
yes.
because I am, scared or hurt. It's because
Correct.
that's all I know what to do when my emotions get too
Mhm.
big. I don't got no language for it.
Mhm.
Yes,
Mhm.
Right. And so I
yes.
Mhm.
think it's vulnerable. And I think I mean, because I'm still rocked about this cloak and dagger. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
I
Let
think
that
I'm gonna
cloak
have
and
to
Did you
dagger
sleep
sit
on
in
see
your
that.
spirit.
cloak?
Let it
It's
sit in
gonna
your
really get
spirit.
me down. I'm gonna have to
Sit,
sleep on that.
sleep
But
on
I
that thing.
think we expect people to take our
Mhm.
vulnerabilities
Mhm.
and wield them against us.
Yeah.
And so if that's
Mhm,
our expectation, we're not gonna want to be vulnerable or naked in front of
Mhm.
anybody. We're gonna believe that as soon as we expose ourselves, they're gonna stick us in the soft underbelly. And
ooh,
we're going to be looking for that injury.
mhm,
Mhm.
And then when we're met with something different over time, it builds our ability to be vulnerable, right? You got to have
Mhm.
some trust in that. I got to trust that if I
yes,
show you this part of me,
yes.
Mhm.
in 90 days, you're not going to spin the block and say, hi, that's why you got this part of you.
Gosh,
Mhm. Did you take
yes,
your
Right?
medication? Did
Did you
you?
take your
yes,
Right.
medication?
oh,
Are
yes,
you are you in are you depressed or something?
Mhm.
yes,
There go your anxiety again.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
you being crazy. I'm not doing that.
Yes.
You just
Absolutely.
all of
Absolutely.
these things. And so I
Yeah.
think vulnerability is a key to what you
Mhm.
describe in the
Mhm.
conflict resolution.
oof,
Being able to just say, this is how I feel, this is what it is, how can we fix that? And
mhm,
we also fix problems, not people. That's
mhm,
that's what else I would
That.
say.
That.
mhm.
I don't
Let's
have to
focus on
attack
the
you.
problem. You don't have to cut me up for us to deal
That's
with the
right,
problem.
Yes.
that's right, that's right. And
Yeah.
Ebony, I want you to go back, circle back,
Hmm.
because part of our defense mechanism, a defense mechanism, is
Hmm.
calling out that thing on you.
Right.
So now
Mhm.
I'm in
It's
Mhm.
conflict. And
deflection.
Mhm.
now you have, because you shared them invulnerable, I'm gonna bring that thing up instead of
Yep.
dealing with what's happening in this space.
Yep.
Right? Oh, you acting
Yep.
like so and so. Or now you remember you act like that
Mhm.
time when you fell off your bike. You bring that stuff back, and it's also that's the dagger,
That's the dagger.
That's the dagger.
right? That we then use the vulnerability, and then sometimes people don't recover, and
Yeah.
sometimes they'll shut that door and
Right.
never come back.
Yeah.
Because now I can't trust you. Don't worry about
Right.
it. If
Yeah.
I
'Cause
can't be
I
vulnerable,
would never open myself up to you like that again
right?
I
in
would
order
And
for you
never
to
we,
give you
stab
the
me.
opportunity.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
and we're not
Absolutely.
aware that it is happening, and then we're in relationship that now does not no longer has the vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
Or and we don't know, we're not aware that what we have done to cause the door to close,
Right, right, right.
right? And we may
Mixture.
be
Yeah.
relationship after relationship, friend
Mm,
relationship, family relationship,
yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
job,
Mhm.
that part of our personality is there, and we don't know why these are unhealthy
Right.
relationships.
Right. Or
Mm-hmm.
why I'm constantly feeling attacked all the time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to that
Right.
place of, and I want us to shift in these last few minutes to talking about when I have these relationship wounds, because we have
Mm-hmm.
them, we all
Oh yeah.
do. It's hard for me to accept feedback and not hear it as criticism. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard for me not to feel attacked when you bring up anything other than all my wonderful characteristics. It makes me feel like I'm not enough. I don't like you sharing with me what you need from me, because then it feels like that I'm never going to be able to reach this goal post that you're setting. That you see yourself as above me and I'm less than for you to even be telling me these things. Why can't you just accept me as I am, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of the to go circle back to some of the myths. Some of the myths is that you can just show up however you want to in a relationship,
Mm,
as wounded as you want to be. And that
Whew.
when we talk about that unconditional love, that means you accept all of these wounds in me continuing to do things to you that are hurtful. So
Mm-hmm.
let's, as we get ready to close this thing out, talk about like now, as I'm walking wounded, because we are
Yeah.
in these relationships, how do I do my relationship repair work so I don't
Mm-hmm.
continue to show up like that in
Mm-hmm.
my dating? I don't continue to show up like that in my marriage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
mm. Amarylis, you want to go first? You want me to go?
I'll go.
Okay, here you
Because
go.
you mentioned this twice about our unmet needs, and Charles Stanley has a book and he had sermon series about unmet needs,
Mm,
and that was one of the things that we used as also um, a gauge to inquire. Okay, what are your unmet needs? And if I don't know what they are, I can't meet them. Right. So then it was also a place when we talked about earlier about not communicating. We can also sometimes hold someone accountable and just say, "Hey, what's going on?" Right. Or to say, "These are these needs for me are not getting met." Right. The person may not know this is a need. Right. It could be, oh, we'll go to the store and what was that we talked about? Ribs the last time we had a
Oh
conversation.
yeah, in the refrigerator.
mm.
Right. Ribs in the refrigerator. So we may go to the barbecue place, and every time you go, you don't come back with ribs. I have an unmet need, right? I want to eat ribs, and you know I like ribs, but every time you come back home, right, you don't bring them. You bring a pulled pork, you bring everything else but I need. So I don't know if you've been doing it on purpose. Now I'm resentful. Do I take it personal? Right. But I just need to communicate. Hey, the next time you go to so and so, can you bring me some ribs? Oh yeah, I forgot you like ribs. Okay, yes. Or they've been out the last few times I've gone, so I just got you something else. It's always opening and going into the communication and making sure we're saying something and not holding and hoarding those feelings. I'll say communication is key.
Yeah. I think if I heard your question right, you were saying, what do we do while we walk around with this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
And
how
I
do you repair
think,
it, right? Like, yeah, how do
yeah.
you, so I know I've got these
Hmm.
challenges and I
Hmm.
Yes.
want to show up different. What
Mm-hmm.
would
Yeah.
I do to begin that process?
I think the thing that comes to mind, number one, is like radical self-acceptance, right?
Yes.
So I know all my parts. I'm not ashamed of all the parts.
Yes.
The parts of me that are wounded, I'm trying to heal those every day. How do I heal them? I listen to what I'm telling myself about this particular wound, and then I start to challenge that, right? So if the wound has been, um, your mother chose men over you.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing you're telling yourself about that is I'm unlovable, right? I'm not a first choice. I should probably take what I can get because I'm not lovable. The flip of that may be, well, everybody has to make their own choices. I'm a really good choice. I bring these things to this. Yeah, I'm struggling in this area, but I'm good in this area. So radical self-acceptance. And number two is some self-compassion. I think
Yeah.
we are really hard on ourselves. And if we don't show up in the ways that people have told us are acceptable, right? So what a good woman looks like, what a good man looks like, and we don't think we meet those things, we are the hardest on ourselves. And so
Mm-hmm.
some self-compassion, some radical self-love, radical self-acceptance. I mean, unapologetic, like
Yes.
all my parts are just my parts. And I'm not saying that they're all like nothing need work. I'm saying that if I present this thing before you, I'm willing to work on it. If I wasn't willing, I wouldn't even show up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think we have to be willing to show up for
Yes.
ourselves, and then in relationships, friendships, partnerships, marriages, whatever you choose, be willing to do that in a way that, I don't know what my word is, but I feel like compromise is one thing, but contorting is a different thing.
Mm.
Speak to
I
Mm-hmm.
the
don't need
people.
to shape shift to be
Yes.
loved. I'm
Speak to the
perfectly
people.
Absolutely.
eligible right now as I
Yes.
am,
Yes.
without any amendments. Today, right here, right
Yes.
now, I'm
Yes.
perfectly eligible to be fully loved.
Yes. And Ebony, I'm so glad you let me segue you a little bit and talk about boundaries there,
Oh, yeah.
right? In your loving relationship, friends, and swing over into those boundaries and how you,
Ooh,
yeah.
let's see. So I feel like it's important to say that boundaries are for you and not other people, that they teach people how to treat you. They don't hold other people accountable. They hold you accountable for taking care of yourself. And
Yes.
so your boundaries are for you to let people know when they've impressed upon them. They're
Yes.
not to keep other people at bay and put
That's
them
right.
in line. It's for you to recognize when you've been hurt, when they've impeded upon you, and for you to then say, hey, that really hurt my feelings when you say that about me.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't feel seen. I really don't feel heard when this happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and, and boundaries for me are a new concept. I'll tell you the truth. I've been a people pleaser most of my life.
Okay.
I just want to be liked. I just want to
Mm,
have a friend.
mm.
I
Come on,
just
Auntie.
want to, right?
Yeah.
But when I decided that my needs and my wants and my thoughts and my
Yeah.
heart is just as valuable as yours,
Yes.
boundaries became a little easier to impress and
Yes.
implement.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Can we
Yes.
just talk about your honesty in that moment?
Oh, thank you.
Right? Like, because I think,
Yeah.
truth be told, we want to be liked. We want to be chosen.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We make jokes about the pick me generation. However, most of
Mhm.
us
Mhm.
truthfully do want to be valued.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
oftentimes we tie our value to who chooses us in a relationship.
Mm,
Right.
Am I your
Right.
friend or am I your best friend?
mm,
Right.
Am I somebody you're dating or am I somebody that you're in a committed relationship with?
mm,
Right? My
Right.
father used to say he had a Sunday go courting girlfriend. That was the
Mm.
actual one who he went to her house and he courted, but he had plenty of other people that
mm,
he was engaging with. And
Mhm.
he used to always tell me, "You want to be the Sunday go courting girlfriend," and I never really understood what that meant
Wow.
until I got older.
mm-hmm.
But
Mhm.
truth be told, all of those other women you were seeing, now they got a wound, right, of not being chosen,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I want to be honest that a lot of us have, and you all said it earlier about setting somebody free with some things. So one, I want to tell people that there is a such thing as accommodating people to the degree that
Mm-hmm.
you're always going to be the person that they go to get their needs met, but who they
Mm-hmm.
never see as anyone they want to establish a partnership with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
when I need for you to get a loan for me, I'm going to call you. When I need for you
Mm.
to proofread something for me, I'm going to call you. When I'm not feeling good and I need somebody to take care of me, I'm
Mm,
going to call you.
yeah.
When I need to get an itch scratched, I'm going to call you. However,
Mhm.
because we're in that spirit of accommodating others for all of our experiences that we've had in our lives, then I can get to a point where I set my goalposts as accommodation. That
Right.
I will do whatever it is that will keep you in my space in whatever capacity you will allow me to be.
Mm,
Yeah.
And there is a difference. Now, friends, I believe in designing the relationship you want to have. If you are in
Yeah.
that spirit in your life where you are just having a good time and enjoying people,
yeah.
then by all
Right.
means do that. However, if you say to yourself, I want to be in a committed relationship, I want to work toward the goal of a covenant, then that's a different type of again, because whatever we practice becomes our process. And so some of us are practicing not being in committed relationships by filling space with people who are for entertainment only.
Oof.
I'm sorry. We all right.
I think the thing that popped into my mind was like a consistent betrayal of yourself.
Oh,
Mm.
that's good.
You are really like betraying yourself in hopes that that
Mm-hmm.
person would hear your heart
Yes.
Mm.
and choose you.
Yeah.
Oof.
And
Oh,
for
mm,
some people, you'll never be good enough, and that's not about you.
mm,
That's
Correct.
about them. They don't even recognize
Mhm.
who you are. Like, they don't even see you.
or they
And you
see you
keep
and they
saying
see you in the way that benefits them,
the
not
way that benefits them.
in who
They don't
you
see you
are.
fully, who you
Come
are,
on,
Yes.
speak to
right?
the people.
They don't see that. And then number two is that every time that you take less than you deserve, you set yourself up for a little bit less,
Yes. Absolutely.
right?
So you said
In,
you went
in,
from a
in
full glass to a half a glass, from a
right
half a glass to a quarter of a glass.
to a sip, to a
Mm.
drip,
Oof.
uh, to thirsty. Now you just thirsty.
Oof.
That will preach. That needs
That's
to
not,
be
Listen,
somebody's
I'm
it's
gonna
sermon.
write,
true.
now I'm gonna circle
Write
back.
it down.
Hold
Write
on.
it
Listen,
down, because
yeah,
that
yeah.
will preach right
That,
there.
that's
Because
that's
that's where
that's how we
thirsty
get
comes
it.
from.
That's where it comes.
That
Oh,
you have
Yeah,
right.
just
that's where it
broken
comes from.
down the origin of thirsty. Not
Right.
in a way that is derogatory toward
No,
anyone, but in understanding why I have set myself up to take less. That's
and
a
less
word, Ebony.
until none.
That
Less
is
and
a
less until
word.
none.
Mm,
And then I think if we keep falling that glass,
come on.
we end up pouring into them. We ain't got nothing left for us,
Oh my goodness.
and it get worse.
Because now I'm over here trying to get something from other folks to pour into you just so I have something.
And then I'm willing to pay you to love me.
Oh my goodness.
I'm
Set some
giving you
folks
so
free.
much. I ain't got no more, but let me find some more because
Yeah.
I just need your love now.
Because we
I
do
got
know
to
that
have
that
it.
is a thing that people will
Yes.
pimp other folks in hopes that it will allow them to be chosen by the person that they really want to be chosen by.
All them wounds you just mentioned.
Oof.
And my
All
God,
them folk with the wounds.
because I know better at this point, I should have already mentioned, here's your plug for therapy if you have not picked up. That if you have some of these wounds of which we have spoken,
Right.
Yes.
you need to go ahead and schedule you an appointment
Yes.
Yeah.
in person or telehealth,
Mhm. Yes.
which is just video, what we're doing now,
Yeah.
because you're not going to be able to undo these patterns that you have practiced on your
Mm-hmm.
own, because otherwise you wouldn't have practiced the patterns.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
see you a good therapist to create the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
What did you say, Ebony? It is built on trust
Yeah.
and
Commitment.
commitment.
That's the
Yes.
start. That what holds it together. Otherwise, all the stuff starts shuffling. It don't got no good
Mm.
hold to it. You don't
Ooh,
keep it. It
yeah.
starts shuffling.
Oh, yes.
So
So
if you
you,
can't even
you know,
trust yourself to make a choice about who to
can't.
be in a
It's
relationship
shaky.
with,
It's
Yes.
shaky.
Yes.
Yeah.
you shake your foundation already shaky, because that means you're going to be
Very shaky.
committing to people who can't give
Yes.
you what you deserve.
Yes.
All
What
right,
you really want
come
and
on
what you
now.
really want.
Mhm.
All right,
And
I
ladies,
don't
understanding,
go
understand
ahead.
when you say about wanting, understanding the desire,
Mm,
right? So what I had to pray was, God, show me the desire of my heart
mm,
and why that's
Yes,
what I desire. Does that come from an unhealthy place?
my
mm,
Lord today.
mm,
Right?
mm,
Why is that what I desire? Is that unhealthy?
mm.
And working through that. Oh, yes.
Yes, my gosh.
Yeah.
Parting words, ladies. If you were to be talking to a younger you, or
Mm.
a woman you care about who you see not loving herself in the way that she deserves, what would be the last message you would want her to have on her mind when she goes to sleep
Mm-hmm.
tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And I'll go because I know Emmy's gonna give us a gem, so I'm gonna just
And is.
yeah.
It is. Every time, without a doubt.
As always, you're gonna drop the mic on
And
that.
bam, and I'm gonna be like, now we're
Now we're
ending.
gonna close. We're gonna close.
Absolutely. You all have a good
Um,
night.
Hilarious. Hilarious.
I would say to take inventory of self, and
Mhm.
heart, and be honest about what you see in the mirror when you look at yourself, and create a clear loving path, like Ebony said, of loving yourself and creating a love here for yourself, who you are, and an inventory of your relationships, and and seeing if they fit into that loving relationship you have with yourself. And if they don't, asking yourself, what are you going to do about that? Now, what do I do? And then creating a plan and a path to do something to make it better, to communicate, to work it out, or to sever that relationship. But I would say take an inventory, look at self and be honest, and then work from there.
All right, what you got for
Oh,
us?
and I don't even know what to say. I'm just overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed.
You
I
got a word. You
think.
got a word, Ebony. You got a
Oh,
word.
I don't know if I have no word. I'm gonna say what I want, what I said, and
Okay.
I'm
Say
gonna
what you
say
said.
that to whichever woman, whichever man,
Yes.
human person that
Yes.
sees this tonight.
Yes.
If you remember nothing else, I want you to know that you are worthy.
Yes.
You deserve everything that you ask anybody for.
Mm.
And it's okay if they can't give it to you, because some people they're at capacity. They just
Yes.
cannot give you what you ask them
Absolutely.
for.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the capacity for that, but that doesn't mean that you should ask for less because just they can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
You are worthy. Do not ask for less because they can't afford what you ask them for.
mm. See, there she talk about, I don't even have a word.
I don't
I
have
didn't have
none.
name.
I
That
don't.
one
Okay.
fell in out the top of my head. It
That's
fell
fine.
right.
Because
Yeah, that's fine.
that's where the word comes from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Snuck up on
I will I will end by saying, you're not being punished.
me.
Because I
That's
think a
good.
lot of people feel as if their relationships haven't worked out, or they haven't found what they're looking for in a partner because of some things that they have done at other periods of their lives with
Oh my.
relationships, and
Mm-hmm.
they are holding on to some shame and some guilt, and it is keeping them bound
Mm-hmm.
in low expectations, and it's keeping them bound in marriages that are unhealthy, and it's keeping them bound in relationships where they are being taken advantage of and not treated in the way that they deserve. So I will tell you, you are not being punished.
Mm-hmm.
But what you are doing is practicing some of the habits that have now become your process. And you can absolutely practice new habits once you learn new skills. All right, ladies, it has been a pleasure. We are again in this series of being able to design the relationships you deserve. Next week is our final week in this
Yeah.
live series. Dr. Sean Cook is going to join us, laying the foundation for partnership and parenting for all of you
Mm-hmm.
who are out here getting your co-parent on, or
Yeah.
who are trying to navigate with your spouses how to be loving
Mm-hmm.
in your relationships and also with your kids. We look forward to
Mhm.
seeing you next week. Ladies, it's always a pleasure. There's never enough time. I want to thank Reverend Amarylis West and Ebony Young, LPC, NCC, and MC.
Ah,
All the
they all
all the certifications and the
matter.
counseling,
They matter.
because they do matter. Because as I told you all last week with Brother York, please make sure you are listening to some licensed professionals
It's a
and not
license
just
for
out
me.
here
Yes.
with
Yeah.
these folks that just
Woo.
snap the shingle out
Listen.
to get those
Woo.
likes. All
Not a
right.
single. Yeah.
Good night, everybody. You all
Thank
take
Good
good
you.
night.
Good
care.
night.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye.